welcome everyone to this amazing masterclass that we have here with the one and only Grandmaster Alojzije Jankovic. Hello, Alojzije. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thanks, Sagar. Greetings to the viewers, to the chess fans. I'm so happy that you gave me this opportunity to show some lines and some thoughts from my game.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very excited for this one because you are going to show us today one of your favorite games. And we have some people here who will join us who are here already. And we also have a lot of people online who will answer. So we'll ask them some questions and teach them certain things. So when it comes to selecting a game, what do you have in mind? Which game would you like to show to the viewers today?
Yeah, I have one game which has a topical structure. This is this IQP, isolated pawn structure, which can arise in many different move orders, and it's quite useful when I was some young player trying to become an FM, IM, GM. I was actually trained by my coach at that time, former Yugoslavian champion, Grandmaster Hulak, and there was one book from Baburin, Alexei Baburin from Ireland, Winning Chess Middle Games, and in that book he touched this topic of isolated pawn structure in very detail, and I learned a lot. And that kind of knowledge helps you because like isolated pawn structure is something which arises in many openings. And if you have this broad knowledge, then you are ready to play, to see similarities, you feel confident. And these days, when I'm playing like online and streaming, when I see isolated pawn structure, immediately, even my viewers, they immediately start to, oh, now it comes, because know that this is one of my favorite topics. We have hanging pawns, we have double pawn structures, we have, I don't know, symmetrical pawn structure, fianchetto pawn structures. So isolated pawn structure, it's very important to learn because it can come via different move order and with black and white. And in that game, you mentioned that I will show today, so it was very important for me. I was playing with the white pieces against super solid Grandmaster from Ukraine, and I was quite proud how it went.
Amazing. So for all our viewers, you must know that Alojzije is a very strong GM from Croatia. He has an ELO of, highest ELO of 2597.
That was my live at 2593 published. I was so close to break this barrier of 2600, but I'm not regretting what to do. Yeah, some other goals were fulfilled.
Absolutely. And he's popularizing chess in a big way across Europe, across the world. And so today, we took this opportunity for him to show one of his best games. This is against Yuri Krivoruchko. This is at the Capelle La Grande tournament in 2011. So it happened close to 14 years ago.
Yeah, at that time, you had few tournaments around the world, like main open tournaments. That would be, for example, Moscow Aeroflot Open. Then you had Capelle La Grande. Then in US you had World Open, Philadelphia Open. So not many tournaments were around, but that was one of the biggest. And people all around the world were coming. 100 grandmasters, sometimes 50, sometimes 70, 1,000 players. It's some. Small town close to English side of France, and I played there for the first time, and I started with 5 out of 5, and then I lost versus Ivanchuk's second, the Leon Hoyos from Mexico, then made the draw versus Ipatov. Then I played versus Krivoruchko.
Then this one, 7th round.
So it was very important for me. I was playing on the first table, all eyes on me on the stage. And Krivoruchko, if I'm not mistaken, you can check his career peak. He was above 27, maybe 27, even 20. Very, very good and solid player.
Yeah, I played with him when he was 2700 plus in Abu Dhabi Masters. So I know he's a very, very good GM. Let's begin with the game. You had the white pieces.
Yeah, at my time, it was like common that you choose either you go for e4 or d4. in the last 10 years, it became more and more popular that people are playing both lines, both sides of the board. At my time, it was either you are d4. If you are d4 player, then you're adding c4 or knight f3, trying to trick your opponent to avoid maybe some Slav defense Greenfeld. But d4 was my main repertoire, although as a kid, everyone starts with e4. I believe that was the case in your games and in your career. This is typical. You play either e4 or d4 queen pawns opening because you don't know much theory. But I stayed with this d4, although I was aggressive player. It doesn't mean if you play d4 that you want to be solid. You have players like Rapport, like Jobava, like Mamedyarov. They are very, very aggressive players, although they're playing d4. I was some kind of player who was fighting for the initiative.
Got it. So it was d4, d5. You played the queen's gambit. He played the Slav defense.
Solid player, solid players. He wants to be solid, so c6 is normal.
And you brought your knight out to c3.
Yeah, this is just Sagar, this first point. You can go knight c3, you can go knight e3, you can go e3. It's sort of, you are adjusting to opponent's plans because black can play knight f6, but black can also play e6, black can take on c4. So the point is sometimes to adjust a bit. And all those moves have some ups and downs, some pros and cons. I played this knight c3.
Knight c3, knight f6, knight f3, and now he took the pawn. This is the main line in classical Slav.
Yes.
a4.
a4. And now funny thing, I was discussing this with Peter Leko, that Leko was saying that how Kramnik went deep into his preparation. We will touch his game as well, that he was analyzing in this position. He asked Fressinet, his coach, 2700 player. If guys, you recall, of course, I'm friend with I know Fress very well, so he won't be offended. You know this video when Magnus is saying too weak and too slow, he's laughing and joking, poking Fress. So Fress was a very good player. He was working as a Kramnik second, so he gave him a task to analyze in this position all the moves except bishop f5, bishop g4, which are the main lines. So let's go bishop f5, bishop g4, knight a6, e6. And he said, analyze all the lines and give me some like 25 moves conclusions. And Fressinet was struggling with queen a5, which is funny because no one plays this, that he was struggling a bit that after queen a5 to get the advantage.
Really?
So it's some kind of funny story.
Wow.
But Krivoruchko went for e6, main move. So what's the point now? Black wants to go to queen's gambit accepted, saying that I played a4. Which actually weakens this b4 square. So now black can use this square for its piece. Will it be a knight later? Will it be the bishop? So you see that in queen's gambit, black plays c5 in one move. Here black plays first c6, and then black will play c5. So in two moves, but saying that a4 additional move for white is a weakness, not a strength. So these are small tricks on this Grandmaster level.
So e3.
Yes.
And now c5 was played by him, which gained some space. You took the pawn. He brought his knight out. Castles. And pawn takes pawn. And I have the first question for our viewers here. Do you recapture this with your pawn or with your knight? Very important moment. And maybe people can, you can, if you want, you can raise your hand and tell what you feel. Yes, maybe we can give him the mic.
Is it turned on?
By on kiya hai? Now can you see?
Hello.
Yes.
Yeah. Now I think taking with the knight is better, because if we take with pawn, then it becomes an isolated pawn and it can be attacked.
Any different opinion?
I was thinking about taking with the pawn, but yeah, I was convinced by his argument.
Okay. Yes, you
Sure.
would.
Maybe I would just leave the pawn, because if we take, we might get isolated. So I might play like knight e2 and capture at some point later with the knight to avoid the isolated pawn.
But he would take back, he would take another
Oh.
pawn. So maybe taking, but Alois, taking with the knight is what is suggested. And that, do you think it's the right way to go?
I want to explain why I think if I take with the knight, anyway we will get an isolated pawn. Let's get that position. Knight takes, I can take with the queen or with the pawn. Let's say that I take with the queen. And this is one important tip to know. When you are having an isolated pawn, white has an isolated pawn here, while black is fighting against the isolated pawn, it's very important to keep the pieces. If you are the side with an isolated pawn, you need to have dynamics. Less pieces on the board, less dynamic. And this is a very important topic. Not to exchange pieces. Of course, sometimes you need to do it, but not to do it on purpose. That's why in those endgames, in those positions, you will see that rook c1, rarely white plays this rook from a to c1 when we will have an isolated pawn position, because black play rook c8, and then suddenly we are exchanging at some stage on the c file. So white runs away from the open file, which is a little bit strange. Usually we are like taught that, learned that you should put your rooks on the open file. But this is more in symmetrical structure. In this isolated pawn structure, run away from exchanges, keep the pieces, you need to have dynamics. Endgame makes your pawn weak, opponent will come with the king, and suddenly you will start to defend. Instead of attacking, no pieces to attack, you don't have queens or maybe some other pieces, you will start to defend. While defending helps the side who is playing against the isolated pawn. So this is an important tip.
So that's why taking with the pawn is much better than taking with the knight. Went bishop e7. And now this very cool move, rook e1.
Yeah, rook needs to come to the open file, but not to the c file. So keep this in mind. Although looks tempting, rook e1 is better because at some stage this rook, I don't know if people can imagine where will this rook land. Okay, we will see.
Let's have a look. Bishop b3 played. Just, I think you wanted to put your bishop on a good square, yeah? Like.
This is very important moment. Can you go back with the bishop?
Yes.
So here is the question. What will black do? Some mastery, something where you can improve, is to include, when you start including your opponent in your game, in your play, then you will get the higher level of your play. You will improve as a player. While sometimes we are too focused only on our opportunities. So think about your opponent. So what will black here do? Black wants to develop as well. So black wants to play either bishop d7 to connect the rooks, or to play knight b4, because after bishop d7, if you go bishop d7 immediately, there is d5 move. So suddenly I can maybe push d5 a little bit with a bigger effect. Aaron Nimzowitsch, he was famous with his orthodox way of thinking, allowing opponent. He was in late 90s, beginning of 20s, and he was saying, I mentioned this a few days ago, that isolated pawn is a dangerous criminal who needs to be restricted and not allowed to be moved. So this says that when we are pushing this pawn, we release some energy. So that's why some knight b4 here, this is a move sometimes. So white plays knight b4. This is sometimes a move. Okay, so I want that black plays knight b4, because then I jump to e5 with my knight. If I jump immediately knight e5, let's play knight e5 in this position with white, then black takes on d4. So I would love to have this opportunity to jump to e5, but I cannot do it immediately. If I play some move, let's say h3, sometimes we are making that kind of moves in some position to have a space for our king, not to get back rank mated. But here, this is wrong, because I need this square. Sometimes for my queen, you will see also as well. So it's a waiting game. And I learned this from Kramnik versus Topalov. There was a famous World Championship match in 2006. There was some dispute. They called this toilet gate match because there were some accusations that Kramnik is using computer. Kramnik was saying that he was a chain smoker, but his wife was watching broadcast, so he didn't want that his wife sees him smoking. That's why he went to toilet. So big story around. And in that match, there was one game, let's show this game from the match, which went following way. You will see some similarities. So Kramnik was black, Topalov was white. It was some 6 game in the middle, if I'm not mistaken, of the tournament. And you will see that I got some insights. Okay, just play. Rook e1, a4. Now we have this position. We have a different move order. So I played from c4 to b3, while here bishop was already here. And yeah, bishop d7 instead of knight b5. Now knight e5 I can play again, because my knight cannot take on d4. Just you can show it maybe that now I...
Now this is
yes,
blocked.
this is blocked. So this is the point. And you can just show a few moves. Bishop e8, this is Kramnik's style to defend, but probably for you guys it's not so simple to cut the communication between the rooks. Take a look how Topalov was doing. So he was transferring. Now rook c1 is a waiting game. You will see what's the point. Again, knight b4, now I can move my queen to f3 because he cannot take on d4 anymore. And transferring the queen. You see why this h3 square is important now. If h3 would be taken by the pawn, all this concept with transferring the queen would be gone. And Kramnik was under some pressure, holding the game, but Topalov was better. So let's go to my game versus Krivoruchko.
Mm-hmm. And in this position.
Yeah, so it's more or less the same, except black has a6. So in Topalov game, it's a6. And you know what is the key? This went under the radar. Because sometimes you're searching the exact position, and database, even ChessBase, which is huge, how many millions of games?
I think 11.7.
11 millions. But sometimes if you don't search correctly, if you don't have that knowledge, you can miss this game. And I think that was missed, that this is sort of same game, but only a6, which is not a big difference. Take a look how Krivoruchko played. He played knight b4.
And now, guys, what do you play here as white? White to move. Because you were waiting for the knight to move from c6. And I think this is a key moment to build up your attack. Yes?
Okay, yes, do it. Feel free.
Knight e5.
Knight e5, fantastic.
So
good job.
why this knight e5 is very important? It targets f7, but it clears this third rank. This is the key thing. Now I can transfer the queen, but I can transfer something else as well. Take a look, bishop d7, and now?
White to play, guys. Another question to everyone here in the chat and over here. What do you do?
f4.
F4 is your move. What about you? Can you say it in the mic?
Yeah, just
Behind
Mike
you.
is behind.
Maybe queen f3.
Queen f3 would be a possibility, but I had something else in my mind.
What do you feel about this move F4, Alojzije? Does that make sense here?
That move would have more sense if my rook stayed on f file. So if my rook is on f1, then I'm preparing to push f5. So basically I would mix two type of plans. f4, if it's possible, Botvinnik, former world champion, was playing this way, so good job. So you proposed very good move. But my rook would be like more useful on f file in this scenario because I will push on with f5.
By the way, we have two people in the chat here, Physician and Mercury Planet, who have said rook e3.
Yes, that's the key. Sometimes rook e3, this rook lift, we tend to keep the rooks on the initial ranks because they are like long distance pieces. But this rook lift, it's a very important thing, and I'm proud because of that. Sometimes rook can join from which square? Another rook. Not in this particular position.
You mean here, the A1
Yes.
rook? Also can join like this, yes?
Yes, sometimes rook goes from a5 and rook a3 and goes to the other rank. So rook e3, you see, whole my concept was based that I'm waiting for him to jump with the knight. He wanted to take control of d5. Also, he's giving space for his bishop. That bishop goes to c6, because if knight is on c6, bishop cannot move. But now I have this additional opportunity. And take a look how the game went.
Bishop came out to c6.
Yes.
Now,
One more thing. So he's offering a bishop. Usually bishops are a little bit better. Bobby Fischer was saying that bishop is much better than the knight. And the knight engines sometimes are saying that it's a big difference. Okay, big difference, 0.20. So it's not the same. My advice for you, exchange bishop for a knight when you're doubling opponents' pawns. Usually 9 out of 10 is not bad. So giving a bishop for a knight, if you're doubling the pawns, very good. Giving a bishop for a knight without any concept, it's pointless. But here, why black is offering a bishop for a knight? And you remember what can you repeat?
can you say it?
Because the knight is strong, very strong. On
Yes,
the
but what
opponent's
did I say at the beginning when we were discussing isolating pawn structure?
pawn. Oh, you want to keep more material on the board?
So what is in favor of opponent? What is actually in favor of someone who is having an isolated pawn? What should you do?
You should trade off material if you don't. If your opponent has an isolated pawn.
So if I have an isolated pawn, I don't want to trade the pieces. So he's invited me to trade pieces, and I don't want to do it. So that's why this bishop c6 is a key move.
Beautiful.
So he's offering, but I don't want. So
And also, if you take, he might take with the pawn, yes?
that's also to get extra control of the d5. Take a look now. a4, it's a real weakness. So if my pawn, I would love to ask the guy, can I retreat it to a2 so that I can push a3? But unfortunately, this doesn't work that way. So instead of taking on c6, I went for rook g3.
You're going in for the kill. Opponent played rook e8 so that if bishop h6, you can meet it with g6. Now the rook is no longer on f8.
Yeah.
And very important moment.
Yeah, I just want to say that we, grandmasters and IMs, we feel this energy. When opponent x-ray us with the rook, even there are like 3 pieces in between king and queen, you really feel it. I don't know, Saga, I believe that the same with you. This rook g3, when I placed the rook on g3, I spotted immediately that his like pulse increased. Because it's tough, suddenly you see heavy fire opposite you. So he is very good player, super strong player. So he came up with this idea of bishop h6, we can show it, and bishop f8 is a defense. Or g6 is a defense now. Just to say, so I was threatening to go bishop h6.
Right.
Yeah, and he didn't want to push g6 too early. Why? Do you know, guys, what is the typical motive after black plays g6? How white keeps up with initiative? Do you have an idea how to make a breakthrough after black plays g6? Let's say here that black plays g6. We can play a g6.
Okay.
So how would you make a breakthrough? You can say? Is there a mic?
h4.
Yes. So you start to play this h4, this alpha 0 move, which now everyone plays in all positions, and it's very dangerous. While either opponent comes h5 and then exchanges, or suddenly it's quite tricky. So that's why he was waiting a bit with this g6.
Right. And he played rook e8, but you still went h4.
Yes, I didn't want to go bishop h6 because maybe I will need bishop somewhere else. So I played first this h4. Yep.
He played queen d6.
Now this queen d6, this is also quite common in isolated pawn structure for a defender. He wants to bring a rook. It looks dangerous, but this is a show of class. This queen d6 was very good move, practically. Okay, so I pinned him with bishop f4.
This is now very dangerous. Yeah, you set the queen, bishop against the queen.
X-raying, he's feeling this energy, but you need to be very strong player, very strong nerves that you can just allow this. So bishop d5, once again, why he's playing bishop d5? He wants to exchange the pieces. So this is a very smart way. Actually, I would be like super scared, but what can I do? I can jump to g6, not more. So let's go g6.
You did that.
Yes.
Knight g6.
Discovered attack. Queen
Defending
moves.
the bishop, attacking the queen.
Yes, queen moves. I'm taking this dark square bishop, and now great move. If he takes with the queen, if he takes with the queen, I have now some ideas with, for example, bishop h6, provoking g6, and then pinning him with bishop g5, for example. I have those kind of ideas, which is tricky. So he went for rook e7 with idea, if I go bishop h6 to provoke weakening on the dark squares, there is great move knight e8. Very interesting. This is in Tigran Petrosyan, former world champion style. How to maneuver with the pieces and fight against opponent threats. I really loved it.
Amazing.
So I didn't want to go for that.
You went
for a pin.
Bishop g5.
Yes, so I'm threatening to take on f6. Now he played a good move. He's running away. I take. So I knew that I'm having an initiative. I knew that I'm there to keep up with the attack. But suddenly we are exchanging a lot of pieces, and this king is running away. So I played a very good move.
Maybe you guys can think, yeah, here.
Yeah.
White, queen what? Where?
G4.
Queen
G4.
G4. Very interesting.
Good try. Good try. But what opponents want? He wants to run away. Where? With his king now.
Then queen
E8.
h5.
Yes, I don't want to, because after queen g4 you can show he can go king e8,
Yes,
which
yes,
is in his concept. While after queen h5, if he goes, we can show, if he goes to e8,
Yeah.
rook g8. I'm collecting the queen. So this is the difference.
Wow.
And if he takes the bishop, now bishop takes b3.
This is actually not easy, yeah? Or
Yes. Do you see?
queen h7. Is that correct?
The rook e8, there is a better move.
And the king will run away from here.
After rook g8, you can show king goes to e7. There is a better move. Don't help him. Don't help him in running. Make his life harder. Collect the queen. You can get the queen with which first move? Queen h. h6 check.
Well done.
Correct. And now when he goes king e8, we have a rook g8. So these are small details. Why this is important? Garry Kasparov has said, in chess, you have eternal fight between two things, material and time. Sometimes time is important factor, much more important factor than material. If you focus too much on material, let's say here, instead of queen h5, if I went for something like exchanging the bishop or I will lose time. With this way, I was moving forward. So keep this in mind, guys. Queen h5, he played rook e8, he wants to run. Now I took on d5 because I didn't see how to proceed without exchanging. Taking on h7, I took a pawn. I'm maybe preparing rook g7, which will maybe attack even more. So he plays king e7, being able after rook g7 to defend. There is a rook f8. One lesson: when you crashed your opponent shield, he spawns and there is no immediate checkmate. What do? You bring the pieces. This is very important. You bring the pieces. Sometimes you don't have time immediately, but at one point you realize, okay, it looks that I crashed his defense, but bringing a piece, I can show you 100 examples when some rook e1 or rook d1 were winning moves. So rook e1, I'm bringing the pieces.
What a nice move, yeah? Getting the final piece into the...
I have a threat, possible threat. Do you see a possible threat? It's quite tricky. Yes, let's say that black plays a6, rook e6,
Whoa.
king e6, I can maybe go queen e4.
Wow.
I will collect the knight and keep up with some attacks. Queen d5 or bishop d5. So I'm still pushing. That was an option. So he saw this, so he brings another defender. This is like in Tigran Petrosyan style. You bring the defender. Okay, so How to renew the threat? I played the move. Main difference between me and Magnus Carlsen, Gukesh, Arjun, Pragnananda, they are much better in creating threats. They always put some problems in front of you. So they see this immediately. So I played Queen E4. Which threat I'm having now?
Yes.
I can capture the knight, so I'm exploiting the pin. So I'm X-raying. So after Queen E4, you see this, I'm creating threat, he's fighting. I'm creating threat, he's fighting. This is actually the top level chess. When I was playing versus some top players, suddenly, Sagar, you think, finally I have some moment to relax. The wars is over and a new threat is coming.
Wow. Yeah, they are relentless. And here you did the same. You kind of tied him up and then you started pushing your H-pawn.
So my pieces are coordinated the best possible. So he's sort of locked. And I'm trying to move on. For him, it's not simple to entangle him. And also this pawn uses like a decoy. If you were following basketball, Michael Jordan in this last dance said in one game, he was just like acting as a decoy. So everyone was going on the other side while action was on this side.
And then the other person would go and make the goal.
There is a space. There is a space. So he's tangled. For him, suddenly it comes from a different part of the board. It was very tough. So he wanted to stop this advance. Okay, and now this rook had a role of defending on f7. So I'm exploiting this. Wow. Queen g6, targeting f7. He needs to come up with a different rook. Why this queen g6 is important? Because now I'm supporting pawn push. Previous move I couldn't do it because rook was controlling from edge 8. If now I push, I drop a pawn. So queen g6, h6. And now he played knight f4. This is a moment where some people would get shaken. Because you see this knight f4, your queen is attacked, and it a little bit disturbs you. But I was very cool-headed. I was playing some top grandmasters. When I play versus Jobava, I noticed how I'm making him a trap, but he enters a trap because he was sure in his calculation and he spotted one more move. So I play queen e4. I'm not afraid of the ghosts.
But now you are losing the pawn, yes?
Yes, but after rook h6, I spotted this g3. It's not easy to open the doors in front of your king. It looks a little bit scary, but I have everything under control. If he goes to d5 back, do you remember what do we play?
Bishop.
We take the knight. So we are exploiting this pin because we have double control of d5. If he gives check on h3,
yes,
I go king g2, he goes knight g5, and I take on b7. I'm not afraid of ghosts. And let's go back. If he goes rook h8, doubling the rooks after g3, rook h8, I can just take. I have also some queen b7, but I can take because I'm controlling everything. So I was not afraid. Okay, so after queen e4, he went f5, and now I was very proud.
One question to you guys. What should white play here? White to move. Very cool.
Exploiting the pin, X-ray. So I took the pawn, right?
Queen takes f5. Is it also possible to take on b7 here?
Yes, but I was a bit afraid of king f6. And suddenly this king f6 has better position on f6 than on e7. So that was his concept. Don't forget, I'm playing versus 26-40. He was 27 at some stage because he's complicating matters.
So you took the pawn.
Yes.
He took on h6. And now you found a very nice move. Check, threatening the rook.
Yes, he goes rook f6. One important thing, I mentioned this, when you're playing versus computers, even versus your mobile phone, why we are losing, even Magnus Carlsen would lose, because computers and engines are super strong in exploiting unprotected piece, double attack, and the pin. Skewer, X-raying the pin. So I had this confidence that I should pin him, because now his rook and the king is even more unsafe. So what do we do? Now it's a key move.
White to move, guys. Think here. What do you do here with white? White to play. Rook takes e6, okay? Mercury planet says d5, okay? Queen, rook e5 is Crystal Corn's answer. Rook takes e6 says Physician. Born to range says d5. Not everyone is finding the move that you came up with. Not an easy move, yeah? G3 has been mentioned by Bravery Future GM Kalpak. Sat Explorer says rook e6. Ansh d5, d5 g3.
Okay, many options. Many options.
G3 would be a little bit sad, yeah? If it
Now it's a moment for combination. All the factors. We have two beautiful rooks. We have queen pinning. We have bishop. We have x-ray. Now it's a moment. You know who is a hero? Huh? Sagar, will you say who is hero after second move? So first move, and then we have a little hero who will be decisive piece.
Wow, okay.
So pawn would be a hero. How? Not yet. Remember I said dangerous criminal. He needs to be restricted, not and deprived of moving. But how I exploit this? No. I need rook. I need to rook my rook on the e file. I need to x-ray the king.
Now, few people have mentioned this move. Devesh, Chess, and Swarnika. Bishop takes e6.
So take a look of the pins. Pawn cannot take. A rook cannot take. Queen, he's dropping a queen. So knight, if knight takes, and now my queen is not attacked, my rook is not attacked because the king is behind, king is x-rayed, and now some small tiny d5, and whole position is falling apart. Wow. You see this isolated pawn at its best. It's like sometimes it's a weakness, you want to get rid of it. Why I'm having this bad pawn, and suddenly this small thing is a crucial thing. So he spotted this, and he took on d4, and now some final touch. I was very happy. So I can move the bishop, and king runs to d file.
So a bishop move would mean the king goes here, any of these squares. Where do you move your bishop? By the way, people in the chat are saying, was d5 possible instead of bishop takes e6?
Maybe, but bishop is more to the point. I'm giving some time. As I said, you shouldn't give your opponent time. I'm forcing matters.
Sorry? c8?
Okay, but then king runs, and rook is protected by the queen. This is important thing. So I need to have an answer after king going to the d file.
And being brilliant at chess, Rahul, well done, guys. Bishop g4 and king d6.
Yes.
Wow.
Rook d1,
Well done.
and that was a handshake. I recall we played on some stage, 1,000 people. It was first board, like here now you have it in the World Cup. I was on the stage, and I liquidated this bishop e6, d5, bishop g4, and he resigns, very polite person. I'm standing up, and suddenly people are coming.
Wow.
Bravo.
Wow.
So it made me some really good boost.
This was such a beautiful game and with so many concepts to learn, right? Like, for example, not trading pieces, getting your knight into the game, rook lift upwards, then using your h-pawn to attack.
Just to say timeline, 2006, Kramnik versus Topalov, I got an idea. This game was 2011, and if we have a moment just to show that I tested this in different move order, that's why it went under the radar, versus one IM from Slovenia. It was in Sarajevo tournament. There was one player from 2700, Van Hao. I was playing very well. Take a look, same thing. We have this A6, and I already played this rook e3. It was, which year?
It was 2010, 1 year ago.
1 year ago, and this game went under the radar because, you see, opponent was defending differently. I transferred rook and the queen, so it's a double like...
double transfer.
Yes. Take a look, similar motives. King f1, very tough move. For me, this was, come on, that you defend with your king a piece. It took me like a lot of energy to play this kind of move. And he won't, take a look of this. He wanted to go rook c7, somehow waiting game, but there is a nasty tactics. You see, when you're playing chess game, you should focus to attack on the king side, but at some stage, you shouldn't forget about the other part of the board. So you should keep an eye on queen side. You're heading for a checkmate, but maybe I can take material with double attack on the other side. Here, I trapped his queen. Knight c4.
What a beautiful move.
And he played queen before, like a normal thing, and suddenly...
No, he took rook c4.
Yeah.
But if he played queen before?
What would be the move?
Guys, final question of the day. What should you do?
Exactly. Suddenly this bishop coming, it's normal that it's there to attack. Suddenly this bishop is coming back.
Beautiful.
And king on f1 was a crucial piece.
Nice. And in the game, it ended with you getting the exchange and then crushing him. It's also a beautiful game, actually.
Yeah, I was not a bad player at my prime. Solid player.
Takes and exchange up.
And rook g3 is the point. If he takes rook g3 and I'm taking the bishop with f4. That was my chess. I have many more games when I was in prime. That was kind of chess. But I was also a loser sometimes, on the loser side, because if you play sharp chess, it happens.
Beautiful. Well, Alojzije, thank you so much. Guys, did you enjoy this game? It was very, very beautiful. Maybe we can have a round of applause for Alojzije.
Thank you.
Who came here to teach this. There were a lot of people online who also learned from this. I'm sure they will watch it later as well. Thank you for doing this. You know, you didn't have to, but you are always ready to teach and be a part of this. So thank you.
Thank you, Sagar, and looking forward to more events. And yeah, let's see what will happen today.
Yes, and we look forward to you know, you joining us in the commentary in a while. So now the round will begin in a bit, and we will be back with the live commentary. See you.
See you.